Hey, 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 hey. Welcome back to Love and Worship with yours truly, Kingsley Kase. And we have another episode in store for you. It's going to be good. It is going to be good. So stay with me. Stay with me. Hey, welcome back again to the Love and Worship Podcast, episode 7, and with yours truly, Kingsley Kase. And this week, I was taking a break from the course of life, but I'm still talking about my course of life with you. And I just want to just be real and just have some talks, and let's talk about some things. And so this week, I spent a lot of time with my youths in the youth department, trying to encourage them, those ones who are coming up. And also I realized that another barrier that is being mentioned or crossed is one of those barriers of where persons, they say they want to be a part of ministry and they want to serve, but they feel as if like they can't serve because no one is reaching out to them or babying them and walking with their hands or whatever. And I came to this understanding was that everything that you leave dormant, your abilities, your gifts, you decide to sit on those abilities, you will be judged according to that. Not the people who didn't call you and use you or didn't reach out. At least that's what we always assume. We always assume that no one is reaching out to us, no one's, asking for our help or assistance or whatever the case may be. And then you start realizing that people are there. They're always consistently reaching out and asking for help. You just have to be willing to come in and really work on it and really show that, hey, this is for real. My thing is this, and I've said this countless times. I've said this over and over. And when it comes to leadership and being a youth leader, whether you're asked to be a youth leader or you were chosen to be a youth leader, you're not chosen because someone just likes you. 90% of the time, that may seem that way, but it's because someone saw a good promise in you. Something about you is attractive in a way that shows the Spirit of the Lord that's on your life. It shows the potential that you have and the connection that you have to other youths. So you find that people go where the other youths are, gathering, and when it comes to younger adults are going to go to where the other young adults are gathering. If it's in the bars, that's where they're going to go. If it's in the club, that's where they're going to go. If it's in a restaurant, that's where they're going to go. If it's on the streets, that's where they're going to go. If it's on the end of the dock or on the beach, that's where they're going to go. They will rather throw picnics on a Sunday or during the week tend to congregate with like-minded believers. But they would never know that they're amongst like-minded believers because of all of their, perceptions that they have and things that leave us just lost and confused. And so this week, when we came together, it's Valentine's weekend or something like that, me being single, still single, not in a relationship. And yes, I am totally open to relationship. Yes, I'm open to it. I'm open to the idea. I am open to pursuing it. And I believe it's all going to be in God's timing, especially for the woman that God has for me. More than likely, she's going to be probably some executive or some CEO of some company or something like that. And she's going to look for a man like me who has that same caliber of approach to life, as well as who has the experience to know how to handle someone in that role, and not necessarily handle, but journey and propel and encourage and walk side by side, and who understand the full value of a true partnership and not some sort of looking at her as an opportunity and looking at her as a object, or looking at her as some sort of anyways, I'm getting off topic. My whole thing is that bringing it back to the Valentine's talk, and we had the Friday night thing with the kids. I expected for there to be a lot more youths and just a lot more of them to come out and be a part of it. But you know how young people go, like Valentine's Day, like they want to be with whoever their crushes, and their first crush, they want to be on the phone talking to their crush, or whatever, or looking at whatever basket of chocolates or whatever they got from their crush or whatever that is. And so I said, well, no pressure, because, you know, it's the 14th of February. But that night, we watched like Chosen, and you know, we've been watching the series of Chosen. That's what we've chosen to do. And yeah, watching the seasons of Chosen, and that's what we've chosen to do. That's so lame, such a weird cliche of a rhyme. But anyways, the point I'm saying is that after watching that, you know, we talked about it. We had a little talk. Jason had a game, and we were like super stoked to showcase the music video of Love and Worship that's out. Like, we just released it, and you know, over the weekend on Friday, Valentine's Day, and we just was like, hey, look, check it out. And I kid you not, I loved the video. It was unscripted. It wasn't something that we had boards for, or we sat down and worked for like 5 hours just to get this right, or whatever the case may be. Well, I did. As far as editing goes, it took me like maybe 2 days or more to go through that and go through the footage, to grab the footage. But then, you know, where I saw things that I liked, videography wise, and just from a concept of stuff, and I just wanted to know what all of that would look like, with the different colors, with the different dynamics, with the different shades of light in different parts of the song, with the felt, and you know, with different types of saturation, some images without saturation, with different types of just modes and stuff like that, and using different millimeters to just create a different feel and concept. And I realized that when you looked at it, I was like, you know what? I'm approaching this as film and art. And this is one of the things, you know, where there are different screens and the different shots, and you're having this one particular feel for this particular shot. And I looked at that and I was like, man, you know what? I don't know what they're going to say when they watch this video, you know, or whatever the case may be. And here's what they said. When I watched it, it was like, yeah, it was like fun. It was like a lot of fun. Like, it showed that you guys were just doing random stuff inside or whatever. Like, y'all were just doing anything. Like, y'all were just having a lot of fun or whatever the case may be. It wasn't like you had like signs or subliminal messaging. But I was like, subliminal messaging is there. It takes you a while to notice what's there in the video, but the subliminal messaging is there. But they were talking about the fact that it was fun. It made them exciting, and it drew them in. Like, it's something that they would watch. It also made them laugh. Like, they had moments in there they laughed, and they thought some moments were silly. And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? That was exactly what we sought when we came together and say, hey, let's create this. I said, this is probably going to end up being hilarious and probably going to make these guys laugh and stuff like that. But we didn't know. Then not one of them was like, you know, it was terrible. It sucked. This is the worst video we've ever seen. It wasn't nothing like that. You know, they did have an expectation for the depth and the, you know, the different like backgrounds or some sort of, you know, deep, wrenching scenery and stuff like that to gravitate to. But what they said, that they loved the image, they loved the way that we approached it, and it was fun. They thought it was hilarious. And so I was like, that's part of what we wanted to start. And we have other goals and you know, along the lines. And I was like, when you're selling your music out of your trunk, of your, you know, the backseat of your trunk, and I just thought about how Jason and I have been journeying, we started small. So which means that a lot of the music has so much more room to grow, and we're not maxed out. Like we haven't come out of the gate come out so hard that everything we release, how are they going to be able to top that? How are they going to be able to top that? How are they going to be? And I feels like sometimes people in the stages where they are with the limited resources that they don't do anything when they're in that stage. And I'm like, the stage that Jay and I are, we have limited resources. So we don't have access to a lot of things. And I recorded that entire video using my cell phone. And everything, the editing, from editing on the cell phone with a few edits, and pulling it to the laptop to do one or two things just to clean up and add the music. And that was mainly it. And for me, I was already saying like, hey, this is going to be very difficult for me because I don't have the big enough screen. I know what I need as far as coloring, just so that all the videos would have one cohesive look, that it's all together. And when I pulled the video, I didn't do that for all the videos prior to me pulling everything from my phone over to the laptop. And I realized that, oh man, now I can go back and do this, but then I already set a deadline for when I needed to release this. And I said, you know what? Jay and I is approaching this right now, and we have one shot to just release what we thought would just be fun for us to do. And we're starting out and we're trying to piece things together. And I was like, I can show every single thing, all the cards I got, all the bells and whistle I got in this one video this first time, because I'm only going to get one shot to do this. And this is what you learn when you're in the music business, that whatever record that you're going to be releasing, everything that you've got, you put into that one time. But here's the thing, when you are in a limited position, most people aren't as pleased with that product simply because they're not operating in the mindset that, hey, you're ready at a lower voltage right now. You are 100 voltage, but right now this 100 voltage, you're in a room that doesn't require all of your resources. And if you maxed out that room, the room would just be buzzing. Things would just be surging, and light bulbs would just be exploding and stuff like that in the room. And people are like, well, no, it's too much. Like, you have too much going on, all this stuff going on. And that's how it would describe to show that evidence in there. And it took a lot of humility to be like, you don't have to dumb down this version of yourself, Kingsley, or you don't have to dumb down the version of who Jay is right now. We just are sharing a different part and a different light of it, and we're just journeying. And now, we're starting from the trunk of the vehicle and going down the road in each street, and we're trying to build one relationship at a time to introduce ourselves, and not come out as we're celebrities and we think we've arrived or anything like that. We just want to do something fun. I was in my Liberty hoodie from Doc Steiner, I was wearing Crocs. So, did I take it seriously to a point to be like, this is the end of the world? And if I don't wear the right shoes, no one's going to watch this. If I don't wear the right top, no one's going to like this. I was completely comfortable. And this is island life, though. So just the people who sell you this dream of these crazy, most amazing looking music videos, as if they're there. They have everything together. They have these clotheslines that, they got this designer clothes on and stuff like that are worth like thousands or hundreds of thousands on. They got the Mercedes-Benz in the background and all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I've done that. I have music videos with that. I have music videos where I had my 430 AMG series Mercedes-Benz in there. And I thought about that. I said, you know what? I don't want to put this out there, because it just creates this lifestyle. And then the world that's looking in, that is looking forward to a lifestyle like that, is is being sold a lie. And I was like, I'm not going to sell people a lie. Yes, I did own the vehicle. Of course, it was mine. I was at a certain status when I was doing these kind of music videos and stuff like that. And I did have the assets to show for it. But, where I'm at now in my relationship with God, and also just trying to show the young people, is that, hey, look, wherever you are right now in your giftings, use that. And we're here to encourage you, and we're here to promote you, and we'll put you on the map. And I meant that. I meant every word of that. Now I have a young lady that has 2 poems and a rap. She has 2 poems and a rap. And I want to say they're state of the art. And I think we're going to try to submit either 2 of her poems or the 1 poem that she just recently read, and try to publish it for her so that she has it and it's something that can be seen, something that can be very encouraged or whatever and stuff like that. And I will definitely say that the number one thing that I was super, super, super impressed with was the depth of what she shared in the poetry. And I just love the fact that, hey, look, she is maybe 12 or 13 or going on 14 or something like that. And she's thinking on this level of writing. And it's impressive. It's literally impressive to me, because I'm like, at that age, I mean, you wouldn't think that anyone would be as advanced, but then you meet someone that's advanced and they didn't realize that it's okay for them to tap into that part of them and that purpose and get excited about those gifts and shine that light on them. And that's why I was like trying to encourage them. And I said, the only way I'm going to be able to truly encourage this generation is by living it. Like, I literally have to live it. I literally have to show what it's like to have a lifestyle when I'm living it, and I'm showing record for it. I'm showing record that, hey, look, yes, you can earn money from doing what I do. Yes, you can be recognized for doing what I do. Yes, it's a different feel altogether. It's a higher caliber of worship. It's a higher caliber of giftings, and you're giving of yourself, but at the same time, you're also receiving. And I always make sure that they're taken care of, because I'm trying to teach them that the workman is worthy of his hire. So when they come out to Friday nights, they know that they're going to be treated with care. They know they're going to be able to socialize and have fun and have talks and stuff. And they also know that we're going to talk about Jesus. But we're going to keep it real with them and try to journey with them and build stronger bonds and relationships, so that when they're in harm's way, when they're going through something that is scary for them, they know who to run to. They know who to call on. They know who to reach out to. And we just try to encourage them and just keep on encouraging them. And the number one thing, too, is like, the main thing here is that we want to recognize them when they have their significant moments. And so we put them on a podium. We also recognize their birthdays. We celebrate birthdays with them. You know, we try to do something that's nice to say that, hey, thank you so much for your service or something like that. At least every semester or every quarter, we try to do something that's nice for them. Even the ones that are away to school, to remind them that, hey, when you come back home, we still remember you. We haven't forgotten you. We think of you. Even the young adults who are working and they just don't want to show up. You know, there's this thing, they're too mature and don't have time to be around little kids or teenagers. And they don't want nothing to do with teenagers. And they just want to be in their own corner and do their own thing. But I keep on trying to encourage them. Like, you guys are leaders. If y'all want to create a group, you know, where y'all can come together and congregate, let's do it. But every time you keep on like straying away from it and like I start getting pushback, my number one thing is that, look, don't make it seem like I don't understand what it is to have a life. I mean, I have other responsibilities too. But these young teens who know that I have those other responsibilities, they see my sacrifice. And they're the realists. Like, if I'm half-stepping, they're going to tell me, Cole, King, you're half-stepping. Like, that was insane. If I'm joking, they're going to tell me I'm joking. But when I'm being truthful and honest and open to them, and also being very, very vigilant, because they're still in a phase, like they're still dealing with stuff, you know what I mean? And even our young adults are dealing with stuff, but they're dealing with those things secretly. Like, one of the things that they wouldn't reach out to is counseling. That's what a youth leader ought to be. A youth leader needs to be in a position to have some sort of counseling experience. And luckily, I do have that. Luckily, thank God I do have that. But the problem is, most of these guys don't have anyone that they talk to other than the same people who are in messes with them, or people who are in worse messes than them, or people who can help them to go on a different stratosphere and elevate. So this is happening. But when you can go to them and you approach them and say, hey, look, I haven't seen you, and then they'll be like, oh, well, you don't call me, you don't reach out to me, I don't never hear from you, I don't ever get no call from you, you don't ever check for me, and nothing like that. And I'm like, well, we're in a group together. I send messages all the time. And if I had to call every single one of the youths, that would probably be like 100 of you. And if you didn't know, it was like 100 of you. It is like 100 of you. You don't see 100 of you out on Sundays or Youth Sundays. You don't see 100 when we gather, but it is like 100 of you. If I had to call everyone that's under my care and in that form of leadership, it's that many. But I try my best to send them messages collectively, and I also try to point them in the right direction where they can pair off with other leaders that they can confide in and share with. Because some people just can't. And some people they're not focused, they ain't good with it. And then they go to people who continue making excuses for them and with them. And I'm just at a point in my life. It's like, let me give you a reality check here. And this is even to my young leaders, if you're listening to this. Let me give you a reality check. Do you believe that Jesus is coming back? It's either a yes or no. It's not no if, ands, or but that's not the reason. No, I'm asking you, do you really believe that Jesus is coming back? Do you believe that part of your faith? Do you have faith that he's coming back? Now, if you have a doubt, then be honest about that. Be honest that I'm not really sure. I know I gave my life to Christ, but I'm not really sure he's coming back. I've been in this life, I've been going through all this other stuff, and the experience I've been going on, that's been happening to me in the world, I don't really have that belief that he's actually coming back, or any changes are going to take place significantly in my life. Be honest with yourselves. The truth is, he's coming back. For me, at least, that's my truth is, I believe that he's coming back. And because I believe that he's coming back, I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be in the field working. And I had to be honest today. I was teaching a sermon today, and I really wanted the young ladies to lead, and thank God the young teens stepped up. Thank God that they stepped up. It was so awesome to see them just step up. And then Jason stepped up as a moderator, and it was just beautiful. And we had help. We had participation in the church. And so much depth in there, like the things that we read in Luke 10, Luke 10, 1 through 2. It was just so much depth. It's a lot of stuff that we get lost in sometimes, because we give oversight to so much. And I think we give oversight to so much because of grace, the grace that we have for other people, and also the way that we love, in a way we show love and how we establish love. And I wanted to encourage them and say to them, hey, look, I understand. I don't want you to think that I don't understand. I understand. You just don't want to be here. You come when it's comfortable and it's nice for you, or when it's okay for you. And then you have stresses too. You have most of my young adults, I would say, have kids. And so they're constantly in this state of mind of, I have to work so that I can provide for my children. And I don't always have time to spend with them because I either have to work so much, and then I don't have time to spend with my spouse or whoever they're in a relationship or whatever, however that's working out for them. So their whole entire time is consumed. But then the number one excuse you hear them make is that nothing is happening for the youths, nothing is happening for this, nothing is happening with that, and no one checks on us, no one comes and talks to us and do ministry with us. And I was like, you know what? I gave the ladies a whole month. I haven't seen much response. Okay, so now come March, I'm like, hey, here's another month you guys could do stuff with and come up with suggestions for. More than likely, if they choose not to, they choose not to. And I have to then listen to when someone goes and tells my mother or tells another leader in the church that there's nothing that's happening in the church that we think is beneficial for us. Why? Because the female is not up there teaching? Because the male is up there teaching? Or is this person who's too close to you, is family to you, who knows your sins, the dark things that you're doing when you're not in church? Who knows that you're still participating in darkness? Who's aware that you're still participating in darkness? Who's aware that you're still doing things and you're supposed to be a young youth leader? So you don't want to stand in front of me because you don't want me to see and look at your spots? I mean, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to take that approach when it comes to me. I love people. I talk to just about anybody on the street. So why would I not still care about my young leaders? You made a mistake, okay, but you willingly made a mistake, and you will go ahead and continue making that mistake, or you willingly choose to make the excuse that you can't take your lunch break and come down for your lunch break. This is one of the church members, and I've seen her do this, and this is why I appreciate her so much. And she doesn't notice much, but I appreciate her a lot because when she goes to work and she's on in the mornings, she makes it a point to come down and serve in church. And she usually does that on her lunch break. Like, she takes a little whatever, and then she's working, and she comes down on lunch break, or she has a little break between. She comes down and stays in church for like at least a good hour, an hour or so, or whatever flexibility they give her, about 45 minutes. And usually within that 45 minutes time, she usually tries to cut it to 11:30 to 12:30. She usually does it so that she can catch some of the worship or all of the worship along with some of the sermon. And she made that sacrifice when she was working. And it just to thank her for all the time and I imagine when she went back to work, she went back rejuvenated. She went back she knows she had to go back to work and stuff like that. She went back rejuvenated, and she finished the rest of her shift. And then everybody's home, whatever. She got the fellowship with her people. She made it a point to fellowship with her people. So I knew right then instantly that some of the excuses that our group of young adults were making, they were making this excuse, but they were making an excuse that was almost like making it seem like they didn't have a lunch break, or they can't switch a lunch break with someone. They can't make an adjustment to be there. And then I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? But why would I think that? Why would they think I would even think that? Because my thing was like, if they can't make it, they can't make it. But I would rather hear it from them that they can't make it. I would rather know that they can't make it. I mean, I'm reaching out to them and trying to communicate with them, but I'm not hearing nothing back. And then when you call them, they're like, "Oh, I meant to respond to your message." And I'm like, "Why would you lie? You didn't meant to respond to my message." You know, and if you're that person who has a million things going on, and one of the things I would always say, you always know, if I'm not a person that I don't respond to messages. I don't respond to messages from people I don't know, but people I do know, people I'm serving with, I respond to those messages. So if you see me miss a message and I didn't respond to it, call me and ask me what's good. But if I reach out to you individually and I message you, I leave you a voice note, you know, waiting to hear back from you, I hear nothing back. How do you expect me to feel about that? Because what if you reached out to me and you wanted me to respond to something that you had asked me, and I totally ignored you. I didn't answer you at all. You would probably get to a point where you think like, "Oh, like, why is he ignoring me? He's ignoring me." But what if I never saw your message? You know? Or what if I opened the message and I was so busy, I thought I responded, but the message saying draft. That happens all the time. So what I took this approach and I was like, well, let me try to encourage them to be like, "Hey, look, please connect with someone. Please stay in a communication with someone. Please be protected. Please guard yourselves. Boys, please guard yourselves. Please, you know, we're in a time right now and that we need to be more vigilant." And then I encourage them to enjoy their teenage, their states, like the levels that they're at, to enjoy that season. Because the older they get, the season for them is going to change. Some people are lucky enough that their teenage years into their adult years were so amazingly beautiful that the season for them, they never really felt a change. They just felt a dynamic shift of growth as an adult. But that change to be like the feeling that you got when you was a child, you still get that feeling when you're an adult. It's like me when I do music, like when I sing or I listen to a singer that connects with me. And one of those singers, I would say as of recent, and I'll probably would say probably for the past 4 years or more, might have been, I probably would say it would be Jordan Welch. When she sings, it reminds me of home. Like, I grew up, worship, the way I grew up, like, and how I was raised, and the way we used to sing and lead worship, and how you would be able to go into inner chord worship and lead into worship and get into a space with the Lord and meet with the Lord. The way that she worships and the way that she orchestrates, you know, and or beyond the perfection level that she has, you know, because like something like I did, the music video I did, she would never do anything like it. She would just, her stuff would be from square one, you know. She knows exactly what it's going to be like, you know, and the results will show. Like, she goes in there with a purpose, you know, and you hear that in when she sings, her voice, her tone is not a what people always try to describe as, oh, it's like it has so much emotion, has so much feeling, it has so much. For me, when I hear her sing, I hear a life, I hear a story, I hear somebody that the world needs more of. I hear somebody who is not only sowed the seed of development and worked very hard, not just to be where she was, but understanding what it means to be there and to remain there and to maintain and to have sustainability, and someone who has the intellectual prowess to debate, I mean, I would say global leaders if she wanted to. and to go really into depth into that. But I can't tell you why I have that connection. But I knew instantly when I first heard that song. I think it was off her album, the one where she has on the white top and the scarf and blue jeans and stuff like that. And there's a testimonial song that she has on there. And then when she came out with it wasn't the one with all the I wouldn't want to say the whole Bible stuff or hymnals. It wasn't that one. The one that really kind of brought it back home for me was Trust. Like a couple of years later, when she came out with Trust, that I would say that shook me a little bit. Trust shook me a little bit because 22, you know what it is. You're a PK. You grew up in church. You know what it is to serve the Lord. You know what it is to love the Lord. And then you go through this stage in your life where you now have to give an account for your actions, for your straying away from God. And you stray away from God because you abuse, broken relationship after broken relationship. And the kind of person that you are, you're not one to quit or one to give up in. And if you are in the wrong in any kind of way, you can come up higher to admit that. You're the kind of person that can learn from those mistakes or whatever the case may be. But the situation that happened in 2022, I was ready away from God. Like, I didn't want nothing to do with the church. I didn't want nothing to do with anything God. Not because of my personal brokenness, but because of the brokenness I saw in the church at the time. And just the fact that I was just tired of all this nonsense. Like, and I'm still that kind of person to this day. Like, people are consistently trying to put people in categories. They're consistently trying to cut you down and stop your growth and discourage you. And it hurts when they do it. And sometimes you try to reach out to the people who helped you on your testimonial journey, who helped encourage it. And it's not always going to be all males. Like, for me, I don't like men. I love women. Like, that's the truth. But when it comes to how God uses who to speak into my life, to touch me and to encourage me and bring me back, man, when I was reconciling back to him, I'm going to tell you right now, if it wasn't for Jordan Welch's music, I don't know how I was going to get through. Sometimes you don't even know your story is a story of healing, and your story transcends beyond a group of people. She might have just been focusing on women, and her ministry to her is women and how she can be there to touch women, the lives of women. For someone who's younger than me, someone who's been around the industry more consistently than I have, someone who has records and has journeyed at such a higher caliber when it comes to the environments that she's walked in, to still be able to produce an art and have anointing, to deliver anointing when she delivers it and pours it out there. And it comes from a place not just of perfection. It comes from a place to be like, we came from the best of creation, God himself. And so let's put that best into everything that we do and everything that we touch. To come from that type of perception and just the way she approaches, like, not just life, but the way she approaches doing ministry and the women she's impacted. I never knew anything about her women's ministry or the community that she was building. I just knew that her music brought me through a journey. and I wasn't attracted to the what you would call it, like how people they're attracted to the gift, and so they're trying to suck away your light. They're trying to take away your light. They're trying to steal from you. They're trying to I just felt the Lord saying, hey, look, reach out and try to stay connected. And I went about it wrong and got rebuked. And I deserved that rebuke. But I would definitely also beg to say that after that, all the debts in my family and everything I went through that kept me away and kept me silent, that left me broken, it still was the connection to her ministry and just the character of a person that just kept me focused on God. And I was doing my reconciliation process during 22, 23 and coming back into Jesus and stuff like that. And another thing is really hard for me because one of the things if I'm in a room and people are having conversations about things that are I would consider as being silly or just very uneducated or whatever the case may be, 90% of the times I get bored out of my mind, and I feel like I'm the odd man out. I can still bend the conversation with them. I can still entertain, still make them laugh or whatever. But I'm usually in that equation, the odd person out. Because the conversations that usually get me excited are like the intellectual debates or things about life or what's happening with this Mars research and what does that mean for the economies around the world? Like, what does that mean when it comes to resources? What that means, what it says about the earth. If they're planning to have this thing done within the next, expedite this, like that within the next 10 years, they should be able to start building infrastructure on Mars and be there. What does that say about the lifespan of Earth? Does that make that the chaos that's going to be happening with Earth, or there's only going to be workers here on Earth, and everyone who's going to be on these other planets are going to be the kings and queens, the new kings and queens of the Earth, or the new gods of the Earth? It's so much stuff. And I try not to like go so deep into that because, people look at me and be like, man, you crazy talking about just a bunch of foolishness. And I'd be like, yeah, it'd be foolishness when you believe in God. But then at the end of the day, you do have to look at what's happening. And then people who are talking about the mark of the beast. I mean, have you studied? When you do research, do you go into depth about the mark of the beast? Have you not seen that the moon and the other planets are going to align by the 26th or the 28th of this month? And it's an alignment that happens not every single time or every single year, but this alignment is something that's a first of a first. And I know in January it happened, and it's happening again in February, but it's happening more so in a way that the moon is going to be blackened, I think, when it does it, when everything lines up. But I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, this is kind of crazy. And if you have to see that on a telescope and look at it, it's probably amazing. But at the same time, most people are interested in having these kind of conversations. Most people want to talk about money. Most people want to talk about a complaint about the government, what the government is doing, what's happening with immigration, what's happening with this. And my thing is, what's happening with your heart? That's what I want to have a conversation about. I never come out and be like, hey, I'm the best of what I do. I'm best of what I do. I'm best of what I do. I will tell you that I'm probably the best at the level that I am for what I do. And if I'm given the right resources, I think anyone that's in the music industry would be probably calling me and calling up my phone. Knowing what I can do with a phone alone, imagine what I can do with all of the equipment. So what I can do with slapping some vocals on together, if I spend a little more time with it, it's just, and I'm not bragging. I'm just being honest. I'm telling you, like, having me a part of your team, your music team, is a plus. Because you call me for like a songwriter or some sort of a record or something like that, or you're looking for music and I have a repertoire of music and you're looking for something and I start playing you some of my tunes, 90% or 99%, you're going to walk away with a new song. But if you were to cover or perform one of my songs, 100% or 1,000%, people will love the song, love the music. And because there's an attack on my sound in the industry, and the music that I do in the industry, the enemy doesn't want that sound being out there and that sound going global. And I'm not talking about the new stuff that I'm doing with Jace, because we're that's a whole nother sound altogether, what's happening right there. And it's not as big because we don't have like some crazy promotional thing happening. Everything that we've been doing has been organic. Everything from the streams on YouTube, from the streams on Spotify, from the streams on iTunes, everything has been organic. Nothing has been where we've gone out and paid for promotions. There's no paid promotions behind any of this stuff. Everything has been organic. And so we've just been working from the bottom and earning our way to the top. And humbly doing it. And then we also know that we need help. And I think when I wanted to reach out to other friends and persons and stuff like that, I'm reaching out for help. Because not that I see talent that I want, or I see a relationship that I want to be a part of alone. Of course, I would love to be a part of a relationship like that. But what do I have to... Am I presentable then? Am I in the position to be able to manage that? Do I understand what that takes? And am I someone who's focused on what God would have be, or what He has for me? And I really had to grow up. Literally had to grow up, and not like grow up as in grow up from being a young boy to a man, but like grew up in thickening my skin, because as I came back into the industry, I just kept on getting more bruises, like right off the back. And I was like, man, this definitely has to be the enemy. Just doesn't want me to release this sound, because it's been a fight. The album is still not released yet. Album's supposed to release February this month, and it has not been released. It's just been a complete fight just to get this album off the ground, just to release the songs that I have that no one's heard so far. And that's been a big, not necessarily struggle, but it's like, well, God, I'm trying to make both things work and make this happen. But I know, like, in order for me to make this happen, if I sacrifice that, then that thing that I'm sacrificing is going to put me, in a position, in a state of mind, and also a place whereas I will be drawn away from you. And so people don't know when I'm sacrificing or giving up, so that I don't get drawn away from the Lord again. Because I love Him so much that I don't want to be away from the Lord again. I'm in love with the Lord. The Lord Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I do not want to be drawn away from Him again. After my rededication, I was serious about my commitment and wanting to remain commitment and fully committed to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so I'm going in strong. Now, I guess it's 3 years, or just about, come October, it'll be 3 years, going strong back into the faith. son of a PK, son of an evangelist, musical kid, can play multiple instruments, can sing multiple harmonies, I'm an engineer, sound engineer. I can actually produce on Pro Tools and Logic, but I don't have those. So I use GarageBand on my phone for everything I've been releasing. And I use my phone to make videos. I use my phone to write my sermons and all this other stuff. And I try to jot my ideas down on note pieces of paper and stuff like that. And I used to journal a whole lot. And I probably have like several journals. I think it might be 11 journals in total of just me writing stuff down and stuff, because that's what I do. And because it's just that me trying to dialogue with somebody that's not on that level. Most people don't want to be in a room dialoguing with me for an hour or two. They don't. They just they just get tired and they get exhausted. They be like, "How do you still have all this left? How do you have all this left? How do you still have more information and more depth? Like, how can you still go further or deeper?" And then people always ask me why I don't use all the big words and use different words to explain things and expand. It's like you're more Ebonics, man, or something, crack a joke or whatever the case may be. And I told him, I said, well, when I used to talk like that, and I spent so much time talking like that, people were so consumed and focused on my speech alone that they were never in-depthly connected to the meaning. The meaning that activated their belief. And the meaning that activated their belief also strengthened their steps. And their steps remain strengthened because they continually remember those words that I left on their hearts. Not the fancy lyrics, not the fancy big words and the incredible way of speaking and articulating. Because I realize is that normal people, it's not talking about how your level of education, but because you could go to, I've sat in rooms and people talk and you realize that everyone has something about them, and not everybody, you think people are all there, but I would say there is 0.1% that's all there in the world. That's just the truth. Is 99.9% of people around the world are not all there. It's nearly impossible. God has literally only built a few of us, like that's such small percentage of us who are all there right from the beginning, from their childbirth to when they become studious kids, and those kids, they're brilliant in who they are, and they're automatically operating at a level that no one's ever seen a kid their age operate at, other than Jesus Christ when he was that young. So people always, negate it to the spirituality of like spirits and all this other stuff, or people trying to bring back their dead ancestors or other stuff like that, and their souls intertwine with these younger babies or whatever the case may be. That's what allows them to have all this knowledge and prior knowledge or whatever the case may be. And sometimes I can see where that could be the case because we're all born in sin. And then other times I just be like, well, don't you think God has a purpose for each of us? And each of us is given a certain capacity of what we can handle, what we can take, and what we can produce. And so my encouragement to you guys, and hopefully I'm wrapping up. You're probably listening and saying, like, "Go, but you're wrapping up." My encouragement to you is that there's never too late to start and fully commit and go all in. And when whatever you put out there, you're gonna get the comments. You're gonna get people who laugh at it, or people who think it's horrible, or whatever the case may be. And then you're gonna get the persons who are inspired, and then they go out and create and produce something that's amazing. When I shared the music video on Friday, and then we talked about Youth Sunday and us wanting would like to have more people participate in service, everything I said, everything I asked, those guys, I didn't even have to call their names. They were all like, oh, I would like to do this. I 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 like to do that. And I was like, look at God. But one of the persons did get discouraged. Like one of my dancers, she got discouraged because she felt like she didn't want to do the same song again. But I was like, well, she doesn't know what it means to be a performing artist then. Because if she's concerned about doing the same song again, then she doesn't know what that's like for us when we're called to go from one state to another state, going on tour, and we're performing that same song for, another 20 years from now, even after that tour, because that might be the biggest hit that we'll ever had. Sorry, I said had, but could be the biggest hit that we'll ever have. And people just want to remember that experience, that first encounter with that song. And so every time you sing that song, you try to take them there, or you take them to a newer encounter with the song that they didn't have before. And you do it live. And so that's why they go to the live shows, to experience the music in a deeper way and to have a broader connection with the music. And I believe that deeper connection is what draws us in to getting into the know and getting into a relaxed state where we can commit ourselves to being doers and not people who just want to be bench warmers. And right now, when I look at them and I see them participating, I'm like, man, these guys ain't no bench warmers. They're like literally the dream team. That was my team today. The dream team on the road with Jesus, part 2. And I was just like, hey, this is what it should look like. This is what we ought to be. And I got super excited about it. And then I was starting to see that when I started the young girls participating, because our boys, they usually always do, but seeing the young ladies participating doing youths, it just inspired me to remember what it was like when I was a kid. And I would be behind the pulpit, up on the pulpit, behind my father's those seats, and playing in the chair, this little old metal seat, and I'm just playing my clarinet, and I'm playing it with passion. I'm playing it with everything with me, and I'm using the air that I have, and I am playing it. And I'm telling you, when we only had a guitar player, then it was my clarinet and drums, and people were just like eating it up. Like we had all the pieces in the church, and it was the gospel. And I'm telling you, I was self-taught. I'm still self-taught in majority, 90% of things. But over the years, when you become an adult, you realize, it's good to heed wisdom. It's good to grow. It's good to listen. It's also good to expand and have a broader range of knowledge and glean from people who've been there before you. And there's countless people who've been there before you. And so you go back to the ADs, and the BCs, and you just find out more information. And the more you learn about how the society was established, and then you start seeing what has happened to different societies, what has happened to populations and economies, and then the situation that was going on in Israel and Palestine and Gaza. And if you don't know what it looks like when a family reaches out to you and sends you an email, if you're an artist and you're public enough and you have people from around the world that visit your page and stuff like that, you're gonna see stuff like that. You're gonna see stuff like that where they're asking for help or asking for prayers and trying to connect and saying what's going on and what's happening there. And it's crushing. Your heart would definitely be stilled. I was humbled. I'm one to say that I definitely was humbled. But I definitely want to say that it was not easy for me to receive letters from those things. After I was going through whatever I was going through, after coming out of COVID, after losing people, after trying to relaunch and then, getting in a misunderstanding with the very artist that I want to invite. It's probably one of the coolest persons you would ever meet. And I messed that up. Man. And I realized that after that, I was talking to a friend in the U.S. and I was just like, am I just so messed up that I'm unlovable? Am I at this page in my life where I just won't be lovable again, or is it something wrong, or is it me? Like, what's going on and whatever? And we would send her messages and say things and try to share. And I realized that I was at a place as God was building me up and building my confidence and getting me to stay closer to Him. I realized that I was going through a life crisis in my life, whereas if I didn't make this step for it, to be a doer for Jesus and to truly commit and accept what He said, who said He is, and truly commit to that and say no to all these other things, I think God would have definitely taken me out of this world already. And so every day I'm grateful that He spares my life, that I'm still here. I'm still living amongst all these beautiful, amazing people. And I also realize too that I have a lot to be thankful for my parents, for my brother Lyndon, for my niece, even my nephew, for my pastor, A.P. Sarnas, for Deacon McAulay and his family, for Deaconess Dane, for all these people, and my Gotti, Miss Cooley, all these amazing people, Miss Sister Joy, and Mother Roll, and Sister Carrie. Is so many people. I mean, even Sister Rose, and oh boy, Minister Altia is like, you'll be so impressed. And then you have Jason, you have Sinclair, you have the musicians, you have the youths. You'll be so impressed with a family. And most people are just looking for a family that's truthful, a family that wants to transcend with love and peace and don't like all that drama. Like, people like to have fun, people like to, and that's what I always understood growing up. When I was a kid, that's what we did in church. When we went to services and we had function, it was always like this excitement of fun. Whenever it was like bad and dreadful and sad and all kind of dewy and stuff like that, I was like, man, it's sad and dewy because that means we're not addressing things, that we're complicating things with our agendas. And instead of us expanding to a point where we accept all the personalities in the room and saying to them, if you have a gift that you would like to offer unto the Lord as an offering, please present it. And don't allow your fire to be relinquished. And what's happening right now is the fires are being relinquished. And these young people are wondering why they don't have a passion or they don't feel like doing this, and they're going through depression and all this other stuff. But the people who are right there trying to give them excitement, encourage them, and boost their strength, they're not even reaching out to. The people who are trying to point them in the right direction and create groups for them to say, hey, look, reach out to this organization. This is a good young ladies group to connect to. So life is life is truly what it is. So we just have to we just have to be thankful and give God honor and glory and just stay humble. Like sometimes we don't know, like, okay, so I'll show you an example. When I left the entity that I left with, they made sure that I didn't left, but when they fired me in 2022, that affected my resume. Would any employer that would affect my resume? And until the court case was done with, where that incident does not appear on my record now. It doesn't have a record. I still don't have a record. Thank God. But it still affected me because my name was in the newspapers and on some website. Now it's forever on that website. But that situation, and it was, when the church found out, they were like, "You sure? You sure?" Now I have people who, they look at me funny, but they never looked at me that way before, because I wasn't that way before. I made a mistake and I made an error, and I can back it up that it was a mistake and an error. But I would have people for the rest of my life now that will point that finger back to that. I'm talking about Christian believers that would do that. I'm talking about people who said they are trying to reach young people and try to connect to the lost young adults. I'm talking about people who are saying that they want to do more and impact to ministry. But, I mean, they don't want nothing to do with the ministry. Look, this is the truth, look. And when you make that decision for you, you're going to stick around. But if someone is always making the decision for you, someone's always the person that pulling you and forcing you to do this and do that and whatever the case may be, that's not going to be the thing that keeps you bond or connected to God. Not by force. You have to choose it for you. But let me not get so deep into that, because you get into feelings, and it's, we all have free will, and so we have to allow people to choose and go through those experiences and have their own personal encounters with God. And we got to get to the state of mind where we're willing to have a personal encounter with God. I love to read, and I love book clubs. I love reading. I love to sit down and read a book. But where I've been so busy for this since my Grammy passed, and I've been so slammed, if I read a chapter or 3 chapters in a book, if I don't get to read that book like within the day, if I could read that within 3-4 hours, if I can get through that, then yeah. But the audiobook just doesn't do it for me. I really love physical books in my hand. I have been reading them on my phone and stuff like that, but I do enjoy physical books in my hand. I've always enjoyed it. And it's fun to have books, because when I go on a plane ride, it was like the quickest way. Like, I'd be like, how many chapters I got left, and it's really fun. But I love to read. I love to do some research. I love having conversations with intellectuals. I love listening to people. I'm willing to meet you at the level that you are, and I do not expand upon my resume of knowledge and words and articulation unless I'm writing. When I'm writing, I do that, but when I'm talking, I rarely do that, because it's just the island boy in me. I just been country all my life, and I just I don't see the need. I don't see the need unless it's like some sort of like I'm having to speak poetry to the love of my life, or that is what amuses her. That's what excites her. That's what gets her excited about life, and also has this level of confidence that her and I can actually have the same conversation or on some wavelength, and we can move. We can transcend together, like she won't just leave me in the dirt, or, so stuff like that. Like, I think it's cool, but I just want to bless you guys today, saying that this was episode 77777. And hopefully we'll have another episode next week again. And that episode will be a good one to encourage you about the course of life, my book that I have. And I have also other news too. I'm working on another book to release. So hopefully once we get through this book, we'll be able to release the other book. And if I package that book as a series, it'll be 2-part series, 2 different titles, 2 different walks or whatever, 2 different journeys, but they all line up the same way. They all have a concept that works. And so I want to bless God for you. Thank you for listening to the show and sticking around and listening to us. And just pray that whatever you're going through, that the Lord will see you through it. He will guide you. He will heal you. He will develop you. He will lift you up. He will take you through this period of your life. All the uncertainty, He will give you confidence, give you clarity. He would also restore things that have been taken from you, things that you've lost. And He'll also give you patience, so to wait. Wait for the right time. Wait for the love of your life if that's who you're praying for. Like me. Wait to be ready to handle that kind of love and the requirements that go along with it. And I just thank God for you, and I hope you have a great week this week. And thanks once again for listening to Love and Worship Podcasts with yours truly, Kingsley Kase. Grace, peace, and love.
You got the desires. Yes, you got all the ones. But what you do when they're gone? Where do you run from the storm? 'Cause that money ain't forever. That fame ain't true power. 'Cause being bad ain't for life. 'Cause what you do